Okay, let's move forward and let's practice this next problem. Let's separate it and rewrite it as one trig ratio. So my first step is I want to separate this by pulling out the denominator 1 plus tangent of x. So I'll have a 1 over 1 plus tangent of x. And I'm going to be multiplying that by secant of x plus cosecant of x. Notice I have nothing. So what I said is your next step is you want to go ahead and just turn it into sines and cosines. So over here to the left, I would have a 1 over 1 plus, well, tangent of x is just the sine of x over the cosine of x. Okay, and that would be multiplied by the secant of x. Well, we know secant of x is just 1 over cosine of x plus cosecant of x. Well, cosecant of x is 1 over sine of x. Okay, I'm looking at it and I still don't have anything. So the only logical thing to do is just start simplifying. And if I look to this first group or this first big superfraction over here, let's just make it one fraction and let's start in the denominator, right? Let's go ahead and combine 1 plus sine x cosine x. And remember, we're just going to recall our Khan Academy assignment. And that said, in order to do that, we needed a common denominator. Our common denominator is going to be cosine of x, right? So we're multiplying both top and bottom of 1 by cosine of x. And when we do that, we would end up with, in the numerator, cosine of x over, plus sine of x over cosine of x. Now remember, this is all still over a 1, right? Okay, let's look over here and see what we need to do to make this one fraction. Over here, it looks like our common denominator, we got a cosine and a sine, so our common denominator would be cosine of x, sine of x. So that means for this fraction, we would be multiplying it by the piece of the common denominator it's missing. And notice it's missing the sine of x part. So I'm multiplying both top and bottom by sine x. Well, we took care of the denominator part, cosine and sine. The numerator then would be sine of x. Let's look over here and see what we'll be adding to it. This fraction is missing the part of our common denominator, that's the cosine of x. So that means we'll be multiplying top and bottom by cosine of x. Again, the denominator is taken care of. The numerator is what we're worried about. And so that would be our cosine of x. 1 times cosine of x is cosine of x. So we're almost done simplifying everything. We got a super fraction here, which is our fraction within a fraction. So if we think about this, this is 1 divided by cosine plus sine of x over cosine of x. This is where we need to do keep, change, flip, where we would keep the numerator the same. So 1 would stay the same. We change to multiplication, so we'd have 1 times, and then we would be flipping this fraction. So it would be cosine of x over cosine of x minus sine of x. So really, essentially what's happening here is that this fraction on the bottom will just flip. Remember, this is just reciprocal. So we would end up with cosine of x over cosine of x plus sine of x. And this is times all of this stuff. So sine of x plus cosine of x over cosine of x sine of x. Okay, let's see what we're left with. Well, to the left right here, we notice these will cancel. Okay, so this cosine of x plus sine of x cancels out. Over here, what we're left with is cosine of x's canceling out, right? So all we have, or all we end up with, is 1 over sine of x. Now, if we look at that, that is 1 trig ratio. We have simplified all of this down to 1 trig ratio, 1 over sine of x. And let's think about it, guys. We can rewrite this as something else. 1 over sine of x is just cosecant of x.